Episode 89, Living a Life of Purpose and Meaning. Welcome to Longing for More, where Christians come to strengthen their faith, revive their soul, and learn to live their lives with a sense of fulfillment and peace. Listen each week to learn how to incorporate your faith into your daily activities, stop wandering through life feeling empty and unfulfilled, and begin to live your more. Let's get started. Don't you just love it when you can come together with a group of people who understand your challenges, that care about you, and come together to help support and encourage one another? I've been blessed this last week to do just that. I had my coaching conference in California, and there were hundreds of people there, and I don't know all of them, but the people who I do know have been just amazing in helping me stay on track with my goal of helping people live their more. It really was helpful for me to spend some time just being insightful in what I'm doing and where I'm headed with my coaching, and I've decided one big major shift that I'm going to make, and I had decided this before conference, but it really instilled it while I was there, is I want to create community where people can come together with like-minded people so that they can get encouragement, support, accountability, and advice from people who have been down the same or similar path in the past. I think sometimes it's really helpful because we don't always know what we don't know, or sometimes we're just too close to the situation to see all of the possibilities and even the problems with the way we're thinking. So I'm really excited to be able to open this new avenue of mentorship and peer support to all of you. And I'll talk about that after the episode. But for right now, I am going to replay the episode that I had recorded a year ago called Living Your Life on Purpose. It was so much in tune with where I'm at right now that it seemed silly to redo it all. So I just invite you to sit back and listen to these words, these golden nuggets that I had shared in the past, and encourage you to just really keep your mind open to what is God calling you to? Where does He want you to step into a new way of looking at life or a new place in life so that you can serve Him in the greatest way you possibly can? Stay to the end and I will pick back up again and share a really amazing offer with you. Stop for just a moment and think about the big moments in your life. The day you got married, the day your children were born, maybe when you received your diploma, or maybe you reached a life-changing goal. Some, like these, were mountaintop experiences, weren't they? But for most of us, there are other big moments in our lives that fill us with shame to remember, aren't there? Think about how God has used both extremes to bring you to where you are in your spiritual journey and in your life as a whole. Have you ever considered that each experience in your life is making up the whole of who you are? If your story is like mine, some of the pieces don't seem to come together at all. The situations or life events seem to almost be as though there should be in someone else's life because they really don't fit nicely into yours. Do you know what I mean? What is amazing about this crazy mix of experiences is that God specifically joins each one, whether we are acting in His will or not, together to make us who we are and what we are today. You are exactly where you are today through a combination of joy and sorrow, moments of boldness and moments of fear, times when you were certain and times when you had no idea what you were doing. And if you're like me, there is a mix of pain interdispersed with sheer joy some days, isn't there? And sometimes these conflicting emotions seem to come in waves that may be separated by as little as a few minutes or hours. Truly, there are days when I feel so confident that I am on track and know exactly what I'm called to do, and then only moments later I can be so confused and so unsure, doubtful and hesitant. I think it's helpful to look at these conflicting thoughts and emotions through the understanding that God looks at all the pieces of our lives as a part of a whole. One of completeness, knowing what the puzzle will look like when it's complete, instead of trying to figure out the whole pictured on a few random pieces If we stop looking at our lives like little vignettes or commercials that are totally separate and start viewing them as part of a large mural, we can see that God really has been faithful, even if a few of the separate clips don't necessarily seem to relay that. So what if we took this knowing that God is using the moments of our life, both the good and the bad, to help us fulfill our purpose? What if every single experience was somehow supposed to be used for good? Wouldn't that change everything? Wouldn't you now look at those really rough days with a sense of curiosity and wonder instead of judgment and regret? What if the day you discovered to be the biggest life changer or the worst day ever was designed to help someone else get through a very similar situation at a later time? For example, you've heard me talk about the fact that I found myself pregnant and alone at the age of 23. Timing couldn't have been worse since the father and I had recently ended a 10-year relationship. And there was no bringing this already rocky relationship back to life for the sake of a baby. That experience could have ruined my life. It could have changed my plans to go to school to get a degree. Truly, at that point, it would have been easier had I just decided to go on federal assistance and help me survive without worrying about all the stress of school and working and all of that. But that wasn't what I wanted for myself, nor what I wanted for my son. Instead, I got temporary assistance, and then I went back and finished my college education, but I did choose an alternative but quicker route and found a good job shortly thereafter. Even though I had walked away from Jesus during my wild years, he was patiently waiting for me to return, and he answered my prayers for a really good job and for a man to share my life with within 2 months after graduating. Looking back, I remember people asking me all the time, how did you do it? How did you go to school, get that degree, then work full-time with a baby to take care of when you were all alone? My answer was, I really didn't even have time to think about how hard it was at the time. I just did what I had to do. And I'd do it again if given the choice, because I realized that I learned more about who I am and what I stand for in those few years than I have in all the intervening years. Well, until now anyway. My point is that despite my seemingly wasted years of partying and living outside of God's will, God is now calling me to find a way to use those experiences to inspire others to surrender to his will and answer his call. No matter what their backstory is, and no matter how far and how they may have strayed, in fact, I have seen people who have never experienced Jesus in their lives until they were well into their adult years accept him and change their lives to serve him completely. Some while staying where they were and simply changing their view of the world, and others making drastic changes in their careers and lifestyles, but all on the path to a life full of meaning and purpose. So where is your path leading you? Has your path taken a turn you would have never expected and you can't remember how you got where you are or how to find your way back? Are you dealing with sin in your life or the life of someone you love and you simply don't have the strength to change? Are you feeling that your commitment at church or in your community are overwhelming and you've lost the joy in serving? Or maybe you're being persecuted for what you believe and are feeling oppressed. Or you're simply searching for that relationship with God that others are talking about, but you really just don't even get it. In Matthew 11:28, Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke fits perfectly, and the burden I give you is light." I love how in my recent devotion, the author tells a story of a man driving down a country road who picks up a woman walking alongside the road who is carrying a heavy load. She expressed her gratitude and climbed into the back of the truck. A moment later, the man noticed a strange thing. The woman was still holding on to her heavy load despite sitting in the vehicle. Astonished, he pleaded, "Please, madam, put down your load and take your rest. My truck can carry you and your stuff. Just relax." It goes on to say, what do we do with the load of fear, worry, anxiety we often carry as we go through life's many challenges? Instead of relaxing in the Lord, I sometimes behave like that woman. As do I. Instead of continuing to carry those burdens, we can turn them over to Jesus, and he will do the heavy lifting for us. We can take a break from trying so darn hard to make things happen and just trust in Him. No, I don't believe that Jesus is saying that we can simply sit back and do nothing, but rather that He will provide a peace through our challenges that we cannot get from this world. All the quick, easy answers you find online, in a book, or in a pill are meaningless. Instead, having a relationship with God changes our meaningless task into fulfilling work that has true purpose. When you find that thing that you are meant to do with your life, everything changes. Work is no longer tiresome and boring, but rather is fun and meaningful. If you dread Monday mornings because you have to return to work, you may be in the wrong career, or at the very least, looking at your purpose there all wrong. Life is too short to spend even one season of it dreading the work you are doing. As I've mentioned before, we all have a calling or a purpose, a reason we were created, and the thing we are meant to be doing. In short, that calling is to serve and honor God. The beautiful thing about it is that we can do that wherever we are. It is also pretty amazing because our calling can evolve and change over time. We never really know where it's going. We just give Jesus the heavy burden of worrying about it, and then we take the next step. Sometimes we're asked to stay in one place year after year, and other times we are drawn to make a change after even a very short period of time. Each position we fill, each person we meet, and even each mistake we make builds upon one another to make us into who we are meant to be. Truly, it isn't always pretty, and sometimes it's downright painful. But if we are willing to step into some uncomfortable places, each situation can prepare us for our next step. 2 years ago this month, I walked away from an amazing job with the goal of becoming a health coach. I'd completed a coaching certification and was ready to change the way people in my life looked at their health. 6 months later, I was asked to fill a vacancy on our city commission. I had no idea how that would fit into my life as a health coach, but I was so humbled and truly honored to be asked. I ended up accepting the appointment, not knowing where it was going to lead. 6 months after that, I made another sizable investment to go for my mastery level certifications in coaching. The clarity about myself and my practice that I've gained through that coaching experience is beyond amazing. I am certain I would have never had the courage to start this podcast, to openly share my faith, and to build my program around helping Christian leaders and influencers have a positive impact in the lives of the people they serve if I hadn't had the coaching that I had had. You are called to your very own unique path that may look a little like mine or nothing at all like mine. It doesn't really matter because we all have our own story and our own experiences to bring to our purpose in life. Sometimes it can be hard to accept that God is asking you to do something, whether it be public service, public speaking, leaving a job to begin your own business, going back to school to get that degree you've always wanted, or maybe simply just providing support to someone in your community. We get so wrapped up in the money and the fear of what others will think. Don't go there. God will provide. He will be there with you every step of the way. He wants you to succeed, and He wants you to be happy and fulfilled. But He won't do it for you. He wants you to take the first step. He wants you to move off of square one before He'll take action. You must have faith. You must trust God. If it's even possible, it will take a level of courage you may never have tapped into before. But the returns for stepping out into courageous faith are so amazing that you will never regret it. I get it. You aren't sure. Neither was I. You probably believe you don't have all the right tools. Neither did I. But there is no such thing as failure. You learn from every mistake, every step that doesn't produce the way you had hoped, and you keep going. And if you are in the Word and praying to God about living in His will, you cannot go wrong. So what is God whispering in your ear? Whether you are a young single mother or a busy professional or a recent retiree, I urge you to find a way to answer His call. To fulfill your purpose using the knowledge and skills we've gathered through life is truly the way to show your love of Christ, not showing up for an hour of church on Sunday morning. You may think I'm not talking to you because you don't believe you are qualified to share your story with the people in your life. But that is exactly what Satan wants you to believe. You see, the length of your life doesn't matter. The amount of education you have doesn't matter. nor does the amount of money in your bank account or the number of friends on your Facebook account. None of that matters. God has had a plan for you from before you were born, and you are exactly where you are for a reason. He wants you to suck it up and do what He is calling you to do. Pray about it and get into Scripture and make sure it is God calling you. But when you do get that answer, don't overanalyze it or overplan. Instead, ask Him what your next step is and go do it. I know it's hard, and that is why I'm fulfilling my calling, to help you have the courage to take that next step, to hold that vision for you along the way, and to make sure you keep moving toward the beautiful life you were created for. If this message is reminding you that it is time to make a change in your life, I encourage you to follow God's gentle calling. So, what was your biggest takeaway? What kinds of changes would you like to see in your work? And honestly, even in your home life, what kinds of things would make you have a completely different life experience if you could just shift the way you do something today? Maybe it's a whole new job, but maybe it's just the way you interact with the people in your team, or the way that you manage your time, or schedule meetings, or you name it. It could be anything. The beautiful thing about a mastermind is we can bring people together from like communities. They may not be exactly alike, but people have different experiences or different type of positions that can come together and work through relationship challenges or supervisory challenges or whatever it is. You name it, the sky's the limit. So I invite you, if this is intriguing to you, I would love to visit with you more about it. I actually have a landing page where you can learn more about my mastermind community, how it's structured. I would love to have you fill out the application and come and join our community. See if you're a fit for our community. The introductory price is incredible. You can literally do it for less than $5 a day. That's a work day each month. So it does take a commitment because it takes time to build a community. I think it could be a complete game changer in your work life. And honestly, when your work life is better, all of your life is better. In fact, you can use it to help you build a better work-life balance in your life. So anyway, check it out. You can find it at vannajohnson.com/mastermind. I would love to visit with you about this incredible opportunity, but act quickly because the price structure does change. There's a great opportunity for people who are action takers and can be in my founders list. So check it out. I'd love to know what you think. So there you have it. I just want to thank you so much for stopping by today. It is such a blessing to me for each and every one of you that listened to the episode. If you found this to be of value, please share it with your friends. Tell them about this. I had a comment this week on someone who said it's completely changed her life. That means so much to me. It's just so empowering to know that God is working through this podcast to help people come draw closer to Him and live out their more. So again, thanks for stopping. Go, be blessed, and live your more.